Hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Products and Services here at Alpha Software, and I'm pleased to present Dion McCormick, no relation, our Supreme Solutions Engineer. Joining us today also is Sarah Mitchell, in charge of our documentation department. Today, Dion is going to be continuing with his discussion of Pusher. And if you thought last week's demo was cool, and I thought it was pretty cool, I think this one's even just a little bit more cool. So you want to stick around and see this one. We're also here, of course, to answer your questions. So you could type those questions into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. That'll be monitored by me, Sarah, Dion, and so on. Be happy to get answers out to you. Of course, you can also send emails to guides, GUIDES @alphasoftware.com, and we'll help you out that way as well. So let's get started. Hello, Dion. Are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you. Let me go ahead and make you the presenter. And there's your screen.
There we go. Very cool. Thank you, everybody. And as Dave mentioned, we're here for you. And in fact, this demonstration was really based on some questions on our previous ones. So we love your input. So if you have questions on today's presentation, go to your GoToWebinar control panel, go into the questions area and put it there. We'll be monitoring it. And always, if you have other questions, you're welcome to send them to guides, GUIDES @alphasoftware.com. Keep an eye on those. Try to answer as many as humanly possible, and a lot of fun stuff going on. Also, I'd like to say thank you and welcome to Sarah, who's with us, who always kind of corrects my errors. So it's like having someone
like a fact checker, liar, liar, pants on fire.
We've got a real-time fact checker, which is really fun and exciting on that. So we are excited about it. And we really want to say thank you so much. We're into the summer and hopefully everybody's got their travel plans, safe travel plans with social distancing and other things like that. And I hope everybody's well and doing very, very good. As we talked about before, we have, and if you like these demonstrations, I got to tell you, let me go ahead and get something up real quick. Sorry, get my Chrome thing here. If you like these demonstrations, then you really need to come visit us at the virtual developers convention later this year. And you can go there now. It's available for registration. We'd love to have you attend it. Oh, I went to Alpha Sports. Oh, this is like, by the way, that's the original Alpha Sports. You guys are who knows that. So it's the Alpha Anywhere or Alpha Software. Sorry, I should have had this up. Slow today. Good you're gonna see is that I don't rely on my server very much today. So we learned our lesson last week, and I'll be explaining that a little more. But want to make sure there are a couple things is that are ongoing DevCon 2020, and that is available for registration now. So go to alphasoftware.com, DevCon 2020, you can register. And if you like, again, if you like these kind of presentations, we're going to have this in spades. Both, we're going to have the really smart people, the developers who develop this, actually having sessions and being there to answer your questions and demonstrate new capabilities and how to use existing capabilities to the end. And we have other really cool stuff as roadmap updates and other things that you're really going to want to tune in on. And it's coming pretty quick. Let's see, July, August, September, little over 3 months away. It's like just around the corner. So we're very excited. We have a lot of work to do to finish everything up. We've got it well underway and we would really love to have you attend. So make sure you jump on and go to that. And you will learn more and more and more and more. So today we're going to follow on with our demonstration and content around using Pusher. And a quick refresher, I'm not going to go through everything, but Pusher is a third-party service who has, incredible pricing. Unless you're doing something massive, it's really going to be very, very inconsequential. And you're actually going to see this even today is that it doesn't rely on WebSockets technology. That was the previous of activities. Unlock that, so it's great on standalone. It's great on IIS and great on Alpha Cloud. Meaning with the push on another server, everything else, it's reliant less on our architecture. And what you're really going to see, which is really cool, is you can use their server resources, not yours, which will have an incredible. We saw that last week where my server
All right,
basically was
sorry.
brought to its knees. It kept running, but
Speaking of bandwidth issues, so we kind of missed the last 1 minute of what you were saying. So if you could just back up a bit, that would be like one slide, 2 slides where you get to pusher. That would be fantastic. Your audio just seemed to drop out, and I thought it was just me, but other people have noted it too.
more and more with Pusher to deliver the data one time instead of having everybody call back for data. One of our astute watchers, readers, developers identified that and brought that up, which we really appreciated. So there's a way to improve that. So I want to kind of talk a little bit more about that today. But what really was interesting last week was people were like, well, you know, why don't we cut out the middleman? How about can we get rid of the alpha server altogether in terms of communication? And the reason this kind of question came up was talking about like messaging apps or other interactions between people who are using it where they don't really need the server resources. They don't need the database on the server or code running on the server, but they just need to be able to have different UXs work together across the world. And today we're going to demonstrate that. So today's demonstration is a mapping application. And the idea behind this mapping application is think of it as geolocation. It allows you to share your location with other people who are using the same application, which is really a common thing. It's called Foursquare. It's called Apple Maps. It's called, location. You see it's out there, it's built, and we can replicate that and actually replicate it very straightforward. And we're going to show you that today. Now, the demonstration has the following. It's got mapping. It is using client pusher only, meaning we're not using alpha server. We're using pusher and their client-to-client messages only versus having to go through the server and do stuff on the server. So the beauty of that is the moment alpha has served up the UX to the client, boom, they tag out, they're done. Only time it needs if it needs to refresh or do something else. But the actual application runs essentially out on the client and using pusher. It uses Alpha's built-in geolocation capabilities, which is really nice. And it uses the Alpha built-in Google Map integration. So I kind of tied all these pieces together into an application that kind of shows these things, but most importantly focuses on Pusher. And guess what? You get to help us today in this demonstration. So let me kind of show you a little bit of what it does. Then we're going to open it up for some fun, and then we're going to go in and show you actually how you build this. And the important thing about showing you how to build it is that we're going to use Alpha's low-code methodology to do most of the work. We still have to do a little coding just because we're kind of in the JavaScript world, but it's not much, and I'll explain where those pieces are. And as always, if you're interested in a copy of this, make sure to send an email to guides@alphasoftware.com, and we'll get it out as soon as possible. So with that, I'm going to jump over to the application. Dun, dun, dun. Nice and pretty because we're using our friend's Google Map. You'll notice we are using a UX with a Google Map here in the center. Up top, we have basically a panel header, which has one button called Get Location and another button called Send to Team. So I'm going to go ahead and click on, you notice I can't click to send to team because I don't know my location, but I'm going to click here, Get Location. And in a moment, this will ask me a question. Now, because I'm in a web browser, you have to give it permission. This way, people aren't nefarious in grabbing location data. So Google by nature does that. Note, if you were to run this in an app on a phone, you could do this one time, and then from then on, they can do it. So certain benefits of doing that. But I'm going to go ahead and allow that. And let's go ahead and get the location. And there's my location. So Alpha basically called the browser, got the location, and it brings it back in a latitude and longitude. Now I'm going to click Send to Team. Now, before I do that, I want to explain what's going to happen. You're going to see my location. So my secret hideout will be shown today. And I would hope, I'm going to have to blur it out when we replay this, but you'll know where I'm at. But the neat thing about this Send to Team is that normally when you do something, you'd say, okay, take this Latin law and put it on here. Well, when I click Send to Team, I actually take this Latin lawn, send it to Pusher. Pusher takes it and distributes it back to anybody who's listening to this UX. So when I click to Send to Team, it's actually going through Pusher. So I'm going to go ahead and click Send to Team, and voila, there's my super secret hideout shown on the map. And again, I appreciate Google like blocking most of those things. So you can see it put that on there, and now I'm in Google Map land. I can do anything I want with it from there. Now, again, the idea is when I click send to team, it grabs this data. That's why I needed to get location first. Then it send it to pusher. Pusher send it back to this UX, and then I have JavaScript that then updates the map. So this is where we're going to see how things go. So I'm going to go ahead and put, and we're going to probably blow through our allocation, but in your chat window is there, and I'm going to bring it up. Well, we have worldwide, so you never know. So remember, you got to hit get location. So once you've opened up, now again, Alpha is going to load up that UX for you. Wait, we got someone in the United Kingdom that has just checked in. Someone's pretty fast. Oh, wait, Hawaii. Ooh, I'm jealous.
Wow.
Wait, someone in Texas now, Vancouver, Dallas area, a little bit outside of Dallas. North Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas. Oh man, we had someone over in the Middle East. How neat. California, crazy, Alabama. There you got it, guys. Isn't this cool? Now, again, my original idea was to like layer the little icons on there, but this kind of shows you how that every time you click, it's sending a pusher sending out. And so everybody's map should be coordinated, meaning I'm seeing this and you're seeing it through the webinar, but you're seeing it from there. A bunch of people in Texas are hitting that send team. Now, we probably will hit our, let's go ahead and wait a second here. Put on pause for a second. So keep going, have fun. Pusher. And you've seen this last week, is that Pusher has a dashboard that we can use. And I'm going to go ahead and get that dashboard up so we can see it. Should have had it up. I'm sorry. All right, there we go. Okay, I'm going to re-show it. Let's see, there we go. So we'll see, we're already up to 1,600 or 1,592, 35 connections. That's how many we're going. So as you can see, because we're doing this like boom, 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 everybody's hitting it, you start getting a lot of fair amount of transactions because there's a lot of messages going out from all those people. So you can see like something like Uber's massive. Now, this is really fun because you can immediately apply this to, say, a geolocation app where someone is like delivering stuff and you want to know where that delivery is at. It has a lot of opportunity for you to replicate a lot of systems out there. Foursquare, Uber, Amazon delivery, all these kind of capabilities are using the same basic concept. Now, a couple things I want to kind of add to this, which is really neat. One is, again, all the communication is going through Pusher. So in this case, we're not actually spending any of the server. Again, when you click and hit go, it downloads this UX. So the server works there, but then it's pretty much so done. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you about, which is really fun, is that you downloaded this from Alpha Cloud. So I actually put this up on Alpha Cloud. And the main reason why is I needed HTTPS. If you don't have HTTPS, it won't allow you to do the get location. So it needs HTTPS, and you also need permission from the user to grab their user location from there, and then you'll get your lat and lon from that scenario. So the neat thing about that is that if I did have backend transaction processing going on along with this, let's say I had other activities, I would be using Alpha Cloud. And the neat thing is Alpha Cloud took care of making sure I got HTTPS and everything else. So it was merely a matter of me publishing this to my Alpha Cloud site, and I was done. It was very straightforward, very easy. And the performance on Alpha Cloud is going to be far superior to the performance on that server I had last week. So if we did run the pizza app, you would probably see a much nicer response than we did there. So go ahead and keep playing with that. It's pretty fun. But what I want to do is kind of walk through how I built this, the process I did. I really wanted to leverage Alpha as much as possible. So we're going to do that. And if you have questions, we have the Q&A section. So, all right, Team Spinach. All right, they're probably, who's in Colorado? And so we'll go ahead and get in there and get going. Let's see, what's our current there? Look at that, we're up to 2075. So that grows like even more than the pizza because they're very small little transactions here. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into our development environment. And we'll go ahead here. And this is my complete app. And I'm going to build it for you in the next few moments. But as you can see, we have a get location, lat and lon, and a send to team, and then our map here. Now I have a hidden button that I use to help develop this. So I'm going to walk through the process I took to develop this because I kind of used two things. One is I wanted the ability to do a map, And then I wanted to do it. And there's one little tricky part, but it turned out to be pretty nice, and it opens up a lot of really cool opportunities. So let's go ahead and start through this. So I've got my panel headers. The first thing I want to do is have a map. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go to my data controls, and I'm going to add my map. And I'll call this map pusher. And in that map, I have to do two things here. In my map, I have to go here, and I want it to fill the container. Then I have to do one other thing. I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a second. And I have to go over here. And for this to work, you're going to need a Google's Map API key, which is free, which is not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. So you'll notice I pasted in my API key here. And again, you can get that for free from Google. And again, they have certain limits, like 25,000 per day or something like that. So it's pretty liberal in terms of, before you get charged. And even after that, it's very, very minimal in terms
Dion,
of what goes there.
quick question. Is your screen still on pause by any chance?
Oh, did I take it off? Let me see. Let's go to sharing. I did there. I didn't hit the right thing. Is that
all right?
Okay. So we have our map.
Yep.
We turned it on.
And that's where you put in the key. Okay, good.
Fill container and the key. Those are the two key things I needed on this map. Now, a couple other things is that I'm going to set the initial zoom to be like 5 because when initial zoom is high, it's really zoomed in and I want to zoom it out. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So save often, so things there. Now, the way I approach this is I wanted to be able to put a marker on the map. So instead of me figuring out how to write that code, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to have Alpha do that. So I went here to button and I created a map and I'll call it map it. And I want to go ahead and have Alpha do all the hard work for me. So I'm going to add a new action. And I did a Google Map method. And then the map ID, I could have multiple maps if I wanted to. And the action I wanted was add a marker to the map. And you notice you have all these other ones. So we could be actually manipulating the map remotely through Pusher by just triggering different things, setting zoom levels, doing refreshes, etc. But I need add mark. Okay, so you know what? I screwed up a step. Let me do something real quick. I apologize. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put also two other things here. So I build it out. So I'm going to put lat and lawn because I need those fields because that's where I'm going to do it. So, and oh man, okay, apologies. Take a step back, Dion. So I was so excited about this here. I actually need a second button here. This one I'll come back to in a moment. The most important thing is our first step is we need to know where the person's at, their lat and lawn. So I actually started by going here and put location. And I created my two fields to hold the lat and lawn. So I did the location here. I added new action and I typed geo. Now there's two of them here, geocode and address. So if you typed in an address, we could actually turn that into lat and lawn. But there's another one called geolocation function. So that's one you need to find. Now we're going to set the fields to retrieve. So what this does is it uses the browser's built-in call to get the location information, either from the hardware on the machine or however it does it. Who knows, it's somewhat of a mystery. But I'm going to go ahead and click set fields. And now what I want to do is in here, I tell it, here are the different fields that come back from this call. So I can even get like accuracy, altitude, etc., heading, but I really just want latitude and longitude. So again, it gives you more data, and this could be useful for like routing and how fast people are going, etc. But I'm going to click latitude here, and you'll notice on the right-hand side, it says maps to control and target dialog. So I pulled that up and I say, oh, I want latitude to go into the latitude field and the longitude into the longitude field. So that takes care of calling and updating those fields. And there we go. So that's my first step here. Now I could try this in working preview or live preview, but it doesn't work. So in order for me to test this on my local machine, I actually have to be running in the browser. So we'll go ahead and do an open of this just to show you that it works. So my first step, now I'm doing it with a button, but I'll show you in a minute, there's other tricks and techniques to do this. So you'll see there's my map that shows up here. It doesn't give me a warning. If you don't have that API key in there, it won't give you, or it will give you a warning saying it can't run because it needs that API key. But now when I click map, watch these fields here. Oh, wait, not map it, sorry, location. And you'll see I had already given permission for my local host to get that lat and longitude, and it brings back that data. So now I know my latitude and longitude. So when you're clicking on that, that's all I'm doing is using the browser to get that information. Now, I've done that as a manual for this purpose, but in here, I could go to text mode, and here is the JavaScript. So you don't have to necessarily click a button. You could actually have this, I'll cancel out here, you could actually put that as a JavaScript action here instead of on the specific button and trigger it maybe when the UX loads. So the moment the UX loads, it do a trigger there. It's really up to you on how we want to do it. But the key is I don't have to write any of that code. It's done for me from that standpoint. Now, step number 2 is I want to take the latitude and longitude and put it on the pusher. So what I'm really going to do is when I set up my pusher environment, I'm going to actually do that action in the pusher, remember, on the client. So when pusher sends a message in, I can then run some JavaScript, but I need to figure out what is that JavaScript, how does it work? Well, instead of me writing it myself, I'm going to go into map it. And so I could do this, and I could go Google Map method, map pusher, add a marker to the map. And then what we're going to do is use controls on the component. We're going to select latitude and longitude, and we're going to say latitude and longitude. So this is a way for you just to test out how it works. So you can click here, and now what it will do is it will do that map method. And then you can do text mode to look at it. And here is the actual code for doing that. So I like Alpha to do the writing the code for me. Now, this is method number 1, and it works really good because I can make modifications to all this information and do it from there. But there's another method I actually used, which you'll use for the code. In hindsight, I'd probably use this method because this code's a lot cleaner to work with. But since I've already got this demo set up a certain way, I'm going to go back and show you option number 2. But as you can see now, I have this JavaScript. I can move it around, and all I need to do is replace this lat and longitude. You'll see here it's pulling it from the user interface. Well, I could pass it in directly, and then it would do all the work for me, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to show you a different method on how to do that. And I'm going to go into text mode, so in here. And what was nice is that Alpha has sample, let's go add marker. They have sample code for you. So when I did this, I went in and looked here versus the other method, but I would highly recommend using the other method there. So I'm going to copy that. And now what I can do is paste it here, and you'll see that I now have some nice little JavaScript that basically I pass it in this case, an address or a latitude and longitude. And so this is the code that runs. And you'll see in a few minutes, basically I migrate this from the from this area here, I copy it out of here and put it into my server side item. So let me walk you through so you just see what this does. It just gets a pointer to my map control that's on the screen. Then it runs a built-in function. I pass it in this case, an address, but it could also be lat and lon. And then you notice we have title and data and stuff here. Now for my demonstration, all I cared about was passing in this, but you could in Pusher pass other pieces, title and data, so you could be sending other data to display on the map, not just hard-coded data, but that was what I did for this time. So again, what I did is I wanted to understand how to take incoming latitude and longitude information and place it onto this map. So I use this code here. So now that I've got that code, I know how it works. I've kept it there or on there so I can do that. I want to show you now the next step of the following is for me to send the data. So we're going to come back to that in a moment, the map it part. So as we talked about Pusher, there's 2 things you need to do. First, you need to set up your UX to actually enable Pusher. So we built that all in. So I'm going to put it on pause for a second because I got to wait. Well, I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to go over here to properties. I'm going to go to my properties and I'm going to search for Pusher. So I need to enable this. And then once I enable that, I go into my here and I need to put this data in there. So I'm glad I actually opened this. I can go to my apps, go to my webinar one and look at the app keys. And we can grab this, go here, and then we'll go back and get the key. and then the secret. And then finally, oops, did it take? There we go. So boom, now my UX knows how to talk to it. And very important, I think I put my channel, let's go here. Yeah, my channel was pusher map. So remember, when you set this up, you want to tell it which channel to listen on, because you could have lots of different types of messages going out, things updating maps, things updating, say, a pizza vote. So you don't have to react to it. And so this allows you to say, when I send a message out, what channels should I use? And you use multiple of them that you want to. Actually, this is subscribing that you're able to do it. Okay, so now I've set up my UX, and what I want to do is I want to send a message to pusher. Basically, when I click a button, it's going to take the value of lat and lon and then send it to that channel. And then anybody listening on that channel is going to get my lat and lon. So I'm going to go ahead and add a button here. So I'll go ahead and put a button. And I'm going to say send, click OK. Go into my send here. And I'm going to go ahead and let's make sure how I did that. I think I did it with, let's see. Yep, I used a built-in service action to send the action. So I want to use alpha as much as possible. So when I click send, I want it to do action JavaScript. Oh, no, pusher, sorry. The action I want to do is I want to send a message. Now, important, the neat thing about this is all JavaScript. So when I send the message, it doesn't go to alpha server, it goes right to pusher. So I want to send it to pusher map. That's the one I want to. I can give it a name. Now I could hard code the message here. Hello there. And that would just send that. But the reality is it's dynamic. It's the value of those lat and longs. So I need to use a different technique. And so you'll notice down below it says either put in a fixed message or put in JavaScript get message. So let's go ahead and type that. And colon get message. Now what happened is when this triggers, it's going to say, oh, okay, I'm going to go run this little piece of JavaScript to get the message, and then I'm going to return the message here. So I'm going to click OK. And now this is set up. So when I click this button, it should call that get message JavaScript function, which doesn't exist. That will develop the message, and then it takes it from there. So let's go to our JavaScript functions, and let's create that. So I'll go function get message. And if I wanted to, I could say return hello world. And that's the message that would go back. So this allows you to create dynamic messages however you want to do it. So again, this runs, sends back the text, and it goes from there. But the reality is we need to get, we want lat and we need lon. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those from the user interface. And we're going to use our built-in dialog object, get value, and select lat. Do the same thing for lon. And I'll put in colon ln or have it selected there. Now what I want to do is I'm going to return lat plus comma plus lon. Okay, not a lot of JavaScript. You got to do a little bit here, but not too bad. So what's going to happen is when this calls, it's going to grab the values of the current lat lon, and it's going to return that. Now notice that I could bypass this.
There's a little syntax error there. You've got two equals after var lon.
Oh, good point. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
By the way, you know, I kind of am doing this. Well, what I could do is that instead of, I could take this geolocation function and actually put it right here. So I don't even have to put it on there, but I wanted to see what the values are. So I did that first. So as you can see, you can continually sort of refactor this to make it more compact and more logical where you rely on less things. But all this is going to do is grab it, return the lat and lon, and then send the message to pusher on that challenge or that channel. So now we've completed essentially our sort of side, which is I grab the location, I update these two fields, and then I click send, which grabs the value of those, makes it a comment delimited list, and then sends it to pusher. Now pusher takes care of the rest. Pusher then says, oh, I have a message. And that message in this case is on pusher map. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see anybody else out there who is registered to that channel. I'm going to go ahead and send them a message. And when they get that message, then what will happen is they're going to pass that message, and where's the P? There you go, into this function right here. So now the next thing I need to do is say, okay, I have that incoming message. That message includes a lat, a comma, and a long. And now what I need to do is basically run that code. And that's where I was talking about. I used Alpha to generate the framework of that code. So let me go ahead and go back into this and show you that real quick. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to put in my code here, which is add marker, copy that, okay. And we'll go right back here to our client-side events, and I'll pass it in here. So right now, if I were to receive a pusher message on this, it would just run this code directly. And so therefore, I would always get a marker on Blanchard Road. But what I want to be able to do is take that incoming message that's coming from pusher and dynamically set this. So let's go ahead and first make sure we're pushed there. So the way we do that is, remember, we're going to get the message from here by just going var location, I'm going to call it, is equal to e.message. Now remember from our demo last week, e.message is just whatever pusher's sent here. It's just the raw text and good to go. So now I have that location information. Now what I can do is I can insert that location information in here. Now, this is where I had to do a little JavaScript research on here. You'll notice here that currently we're using an address, but we need to actually use a array. So the way it looks like is it's 30, 20 dot blah, 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 comma, 30 dot blah, 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 there. So this is what Alpha's actually expecting here, is a latitude and a longitude, but as a JavaScript array. Now, what I'm getting in from my pusher is the following. I'm getting this. Let me copy this. I'm getting a text string that looks like this. So remember when I created that text string going out, it was this, comma, and this. So that's what I come in. And my first thing was, oh, I'll just put that right. I'll put that right here and it'll work. No, this is actually JavaScript. So I need to somehow convert this text string into its equivalent here. Well, the cool thing is, thank you, Google Internet. It only took me a few minutes to search it out. And we'll go here and we just have to do the following. And I'll go back here and explain it. So we get our raw text here. So this is what comes in here. Then we can use this location. So remember, the name of our variable is location. There's this thing built in there called split. And what it does is it grabs this, looks for this comma, this, and then creates an array out of it. So this is how I convert that text into this. Now, once I have that, I can just go location array. And good. So this is where we have the low code.
All right. So
Not no
yeah,
code.
there you go.
Low code, yeah.
Syntax police here. I think var location equals e.message, semicolon after that.
Yeah, you should. I think it's good enough to understand, but you're right. That's good practice to have that in there. And in fact, let's go back and look over here. And notice I can console log. This is when I was doing my testing to make sure the information was coming in properly there. So you can see right here, I tested with a hard-coded one just to make sure it worked, and now I'm putting in the location array right here. So pretty good stuff here.
And again, oh, it looks like you've got one. Okay, never mind.
Yep.
All
cool.
Right, thanks.
So now what happens is when we click go, it grabs the latitude and longitude out of the text fields, sends this to pusher. Pusher now sends that as a message to anybody who's listening. I convert it into a location array, feed that to my add marker function, and I'm done. And that's why I would probably use that other pre-built function when you did like the map, and because then you could actually, reference things. It's probably a little cleaner code looking than what I have here, but it works as you've seen in there from there. So the process is, and this is very important, is when I'm working with Alpha, I always go, hey, is there a action JavaScript that does what I want it to do? If it does, then I go explore it. I play with it. I give it an example. I kind of look at it. And then I take what it generates from a standpoint of JavaScript and then include it in other locations here. And there's probably better ways to do this. I could probably create some action JavaScripts that basically on push or message, I take this incoming message, put it into a field, and then say, okay, action JavaScript, do it. So I don't do all the JavaScript here. This just happened to work and was my first target to it. So you can refactor it and make it better. So that's the end result. So the end result is we have a get location button that just does the geolocation to set those two fields. We have a send to team button that says, okay, send a message. And I called it something different in my original, but it runs the JavaScript. That over here then runs this little piece of there. So basically I took the lat and long, created a message, returns that. This is what gets sent up to pusher. And then when I receive a message, I then grab the message, I split it into array because I need it in an array function. And then I feed it into my location array here and there. And I changed some of the text here just so it looked differently. Like if you go over here and click on it, where is it? Where is it? I'm not sure. There it is. Whoa, oh my God. Someone's hacking us. There we go. See, somewhere in the world, and when you hover over it, that kind of. So you can change. What's cool is that you could also, kind of trying there. You could be changing this. So this could be like someone typing in a message. It would show you the location, and then the message would be associated with that. So pretty cool stuff from there. Some of them been great way north. Algeria, very neat. This is kind of cool because we're seeing like we have a pretty diverse crew, and we really appreciate it, especially for people where the time is not so great for you. We appreciate you staying up late or getting up early to spend time with us. So we really do appreciate that.
It is diverse, but so far all of the markers have come from Earth. So I think we can do a little better, Dion, don't you think?
I know. Well, we're just gonna have to wait for a couple million years for the radio signal to be arriving at Alpha Centauri.
Small problem. Yeah.
I know. You've been watching way too much science fiction, mister.
Over there in Israel. Very cool.
Very cool. So I will send this out to everybody, but I'd like to open it up. I know I've been yapping a whole lot, but I'd like to open it up for questions about this and other questions that you might have. And again, thanks for participating. We really appreciate it. Kind of fun. We should just leave this up forever. You know, just you get bored, you go watching.
Till you run out of clicks for the day, right? Or
I know.
Whatever.
Man, we should take this and create a social media where we can share data with pictures and stuff. No, already done. Never mind. We'll call it the Dion book. We're going to call it the Dion book.
The Dion book. I
know.
think that's catchy.
Ooh, whoa, what's that? Whoa.
All right, what's going on there?
Got someone on a boat.
I think someone may have just made up some numbers there.
Yeah, I think they threw up
Come on.
right here, you know. They were trying to go into space. But you know what's spooky is that with that new Starlink satellite from SpaceX, maybe it's the space station called it.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how that works. Because you can get altitude, so I don't have that in here, but maybe we do altitude. Oh, look, they're just janking with us now. Unless they're on a cruise ship. They're one of those coronavirus people who are on a cruise ship. And
They're still stuck on the cruise ship since March.
And all of a sudden you see the message, and the message says send food.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all right. I have to say, this is a pretty neat demo.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, Alpha did all the heavy lifting. Pusher and Alpha, it really came together very nicely. Once I had the concept, I kind of just messed around, found out what Alpha did natively with Action JavaScript, and then kind of bolted it together. So had a lot of fun with that. Wait. Aha, there you go.
All right, and you're back. So a whole bunch of questions, really.
Yes, good.
Time for that. The first is, so could you show an example, or at least sort of talk us through what might be involved if we wanted to change this application so that instead of the map marker moving, another map marker was added, so that we could see all the spots.
I have to say, that was my original intent, was just as you click, the markers would show up. So you'd have this cool little sort of view of the world where everybody's at.
Yeah.
The flaw is this code right here, and I should have reached out to Selwyn ahead of time, because obviously this apparently erases all markers and puts an individual marker. Now, that said, there is, I'm just going to target marker. See add marker, but I don't see like a true false where it appends it to it. It overwrites it. But I didn't look at this really closely. I mean, what's kind of cool is you can add other functions to trigger. So there's a huge amount of stuff, but I don't see overlay, detail, title with anchor. Yeah, so the other here is there is built into it, and this may be the way to do here, and this may take a little more JavaScript, but this is how I'd approach it. So I'm going to create another button here. This is a great question, by the way, because you want that. You want to have like, you know, seeing what's going on. Say map it to go in here. So what I'd probably look is the following is go to the Google Map method, and there's a second map method called add multiple markers to the map. And then you can tell it what data to get this from. So what will happen is I could use a JavaScript function that has an array of those lat and lons. The only tricky part is that I would have to write a little piece of JavaScript that when the message comes from pusher, I would take that incoming message, I would look at sort of a client-side data variable and say, does this exist? If it doesn't, then go ahead and append it. If not, don't do anything because you don't want to have the same marker like 100 times in there. So I'd have to do a little more JavaScript where I would then, or I could write it to a list control, who knows. But then what I would do is I'd have a client-side array of markers, and then I would trigger this function and pass in that array. So then every time a pusher message comes in, I either append it to that client-side data cache of marker locations, and then I would trigger this, and it would just say, oh, I'm going to grab that list of items and put it on the map. And what's cool is in that array, I could add like the title and everything else, so you'd include that. So the way I'd modify it is instead of using a single add marker, I would maintain a client-side object. And you know, there's tons. I mean, the trick is you have to do a little bit more JavaScript, but you could go on Google real quick and say, for instance, you can say Google add object to JavaScript array. And actually, I'd probably say add unique to JavaScript array. And then, so like, here's our incoming data kind of thing. And then there's like a union method. So you'll find sample code that, you know, some of it doesn't make sense. You'll have to play with a little bit, but that's how I'd approach it. I'd then use the add multiple markers. My incoming pusher message, I would just compare and say, hey, is this a new lat lon? If it is, go ahead and put it on there and off to the races from there. So that's how I would approach the problem.
That sounds very good. There
Yeah.
might be an easier way. Sarah, of course, always in the background trying to outsmart us.
Well,
and usually,
not always trying.
Usually succeeding.
Always outsmarting us.
Not always trying, right? So could you go back to your script, which had that map marker, and I think you had the map marker thing labeled.
Okay, let's see. Yep, there we go. Let's see. There's our client sign.
Yeah. Okay. So see where it says var marker name equals my marker one. So according to Sarah, she thinks if you had given that a different name, it would not have cleared my marker one. It would have put it some other place. So like maybe if you didn't even care what the marker was called, you could almost give it like a GUID or a timestamp.
Yeah, right? I'm gonna do that. Well, let's try that. Let's try that. Okay, so let's go here and go JavaScript generate unique ID or unique string. Oh, that's like a GitHub thing. So there we go. Okay. Go here. There we go. Okay, so what this does is generate a random one. I don't know if it's going to work, but here's the fun part.
We don't know if it's going to work. Yeah, yep. Exactly.
So I'm just going to go ahead and go to, and remember now, as I mentioned, one of the cool things is I'm using Alpha Cloud. So I'm going to put that up on Alpha Cloud. You can watch Alpha Cloud. If you've never used it, it's pretty neat. So what's neat about Alpha Cloud, a couple things is one is that It's always up. It's always running. Never have to worry about it. Huge capacity, bandwidth, everything else. The other thing that's cool is right now what it's doing is it's taking my application here and it's basically thinking of zipping it up and putting it together into a package. And then it's going to push it up to Alpha Cloud. So this is phase 1. So you can see it takes a moment to create that and then, it's not bad. Now, the cool thing about this is that once this is done, I could click close and I'm done. Alpha Cloud's going to go deploy it. I'm done. But neat thing is it remembers that. So if I ever have to roll back, I can do that. Now this is doing step number 2. So all of this is happening on Alpha Cloud. I'm done on the client side.
That is
So
actually, sorry to interrupt, worth pointing out. If you take a look at the top, it says, look, you're now at pusher demonstration version number 5. And next time you published it, it would rev it up to number 6. And what that means is if you realize that number 4 was the version that you wanted, you could actually—
which will probably be true.
Probably. You could go into the management console and just say, oh, I made a big mistake, switch it back to 4.
Let's show that real quick before we leave. I'll show you how you can do that. Yeah, that's really, absolutely.
There's always a great thing of being able to undo something you do.
The other thing you do is you can do this first step and say, deploy it tonight at midnight. So, because Alpha Cloud has this huge management framework. Now, this is running a little slow. It's usually not too bad. But anyway, I don't care because Alpha Cloud is doing the work. I can go off and take coffee and stuff like that. So as you can see, it's telling me everything else. Now, what's really cool about this too, everybody, is that I could have selected a whole different version of Alpha, like a pre-release version, and it would have deployed it with that stuff. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Okay, so let's go see it break. Mr. Confidence. Now you're gonna have to refresh to download the new version. Get location. Oh my gosh. Someone else is faster than me.
Oh, and 3. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Oh, wow. Now, reality is if you keep hitting your button, it's going to overlay those things over and over. Oh, this is so cool. This is really good.
Yeah, you may not want to do that just quickly randomly assigning it here, but for this demo, it was pretty good. I liked your idea of keeping track of an array, making sure it's unique. You might want to do some more with that data.
Yeah, because then you're gonna, yeah. Oh, cool. We'll come back to this in a moment. But let's go ahead and show you. Let's say I say, ooh, it blew up, which most often is really what happens. So let's go back here. So notice I've got my history here. So I'm going to go here to Alpha Cloud, and I'm going to go to Advanced Deployments. And we should do a whole session on Alpha Cloud and spend some more time on it.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to log into my Alpha Cloud. I can have multiple subscriptions for helping other people and doing stuff here. So I've got my different apps on here. So I'm going to go to my pusher demonstration. Okay. So this is a little complicated, so bear with us. So up top, I'm selected. So I can have my different applications. I did my Alpha Sports. I've done some other things for Giant Killer Training from there. Now, what I can do is I can have multiple deployments. And what a deployment is it is a combination of what website I want to put it on, what application storage, i.e. security I want to do, what version of Alpha, et cetera. But I want you to focus on the bottom part. So you'll see right now we have a grid here, and it's showing a single row. And this row is showing my current. So notice it says active, present, and future deployments. So currently we have our current deployment. It tells me when that was deployed. And again, this is server time, UTC. Tells when it's going to end. Well, long after I'm ended. So basically it's in, you never know. It's like, I love that saying. It's great. It's like, my plan is to live forever. So far, so good.
So far, so good, yeah.
Now, this is telling me my application version. So you can see right here, I'm on version 5. So that's what's currently active in my deployment. It tells me what version of Alpha, what build, and then a few other things about users, groups, etc. So let's say I say, ooh, this is cool, but it didn't work out very well. Where are people over here? They're asleep already. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, oh, that was people spoofing us. Okay. I'm slow, but get me there. So what I want to do is I want to click add to schedule here. So notice that it puts a new line here and it hasn't been submitted. So I can tell it when I want it to start. So if I want to start in the future, I could say do it tomorrow, whatever. When I want it to end, so you could actually have endpoints there. Now what I'm going to do is tell it what version. Well, it's going to default to my current version, but I can say, you know what? I really want 4 to be up there. So now I can roll back to previous versions. What version? I'm going to leave the rest there, and I'm going to set apply changes. And guess what? I'm done. That's it. Once you apply changes here, you'll see that it sent a message to Alpha Cloud. Alpha Cloud will now take the time to go pull out that old version, spin it up, deploy it, set all the settings, everything exactly the way it was before. And now I've done a rollback. And as you can see, versus the traditional, oh, I've got to republish now, I've got to do all these other things. Kind of, this is huge. I do use it, knowing me, I use it a fair amount. Now, it takes a little bit. It could take a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. No, so I can kind of go in here, notice this map it to. So I'm going to do a refresh and we'll see if it's up. It could take a moment. Yep, nope, it's up. So now we're back. And now currently in production is there. So people are already hitting it from that and send to the team, all those things. Now it's going back to my original version. And if I wanted to, I could go back, roll back to the number 5 version, yada, 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 up to you. But you can see how Alpha Cloud, especially for production environments, will make your life really nice because it handles all that publishing. It does it. I can pre-publish things and say, turn it on tonight at midnight. So that's why I wanted to kind of show it. But more importantly, like that last week, it's got so much more bandwidth. We wouldn't see the crawling that we saw last week on Alpha Cloud. It's going to take care of making sure it can handle all that intense activity. So thanks for bringing up, and thanks, Dave. Yeah, I think it was important to show that rollback function because that's one of the key capabilities Alpha Cloud provides. And for me also, which was very important, is that it created my HTTPS website. So I didn't have to go get a certificate, set up my server, do everything. I just said, I want a new website called Pusher Demonstration, and it generated, and then I can map my DNS to this at a future time if I decide.
Now you can also attach your own domain name to it if you wanted it, and you can attach your own HTTPS certificate to that. I did it recently for a project. It was actually pretty easy. So,
oh, it's very simple. Yeah, and actually, we've got some training on GKT that does that, walks you through all the steps on AlphaDev. But yeah, you're right. It's again, it just, you can focus now on building really cool apps, like making the map buttons go in the right place, and you don't spend all that time doing DevOps kind of operations. It just, you'll like it. And also, when you start doing more API-centric stuff, you can create API endpoints, deploy them, and you don't have to sit there and change your server and do everything else. You can just spin them up. And we're going to be doing a demonstration of that in the future of creating API endpoints using Alpha and Alpha Cloud. And it's really, really, really nice. And last but not least, just to show you this real cool, is that, and again, this wasn't meant to be Alpha Cloud, but it's kind of, I used it for the HTTPS, but now I can go here to Pusher Demonstration. So let me open that up here for a second. Okay, so it's showing me I've got 2 servers that are running. So I've got very high reliability on that. I'm going to update the usage in the cloud. So in a few moments, it's going to grab the current data from Alpha Cloud. It stores all the activity and stuff like that. It takes a moment. Let's see. Yeah, it hasn't updated the data yet. It takes a moment. And there we go. Let's see. There we go. So guess what? Here are all of the activity going on my server. So you can see we started I did some testing and stuff here. And then here's my server activity with a big spike here. So I can see what that demand is. I can see what my CPU is, etc. I can go in and find out what are my resources getting hit. So you can see my Pusher Map UX is the #1 resource getting hit, but I saw these other things here. So Alpha Cloud has all this stuff in there, including all the IIS logs, failed logs, dump files, etc. So you can kind of look behind the scenes to see how your application is working. And especially if you're starting to see, you can say, oh, you know what, I really should spend some time optimizing this one to take a little less resource or other things like that. That's how it works from there. Pretty fun stuff. But the cool thing is you have to do very little and you can have these very fun apps running up there. Come on, cut it out. Wise guys, wiseacres. Cool. Other questions?
Someone's going to put in 0, 0, aren't they, just to see where it ends up?
I know.
Yeah, other questions. Let's see. Oh, yeah, question. Can you listen to or push to multiple pusher channels at the same time?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Okay.
So when you set up your UX, sorry, I'm jumping around. Okay. Remember we put in our configuration here? Well, this tells it what channels to listen to, and you do comma delimited. So you
comma delimited. Okay, great.
Yeah. So coming in, and then when that comes in, the message, I can find out what message channel the message came in on. So when I'm in my client side here, you'll notice over here I can get e.message channel and event name. So I can sort of fine tune my incoming messages because it's just a message. We have to figure out, well, what's it for? The other aspect is that to send the message, let me go to send it. You'll notice here, I can send it out on multiple things. So other channel.
Okay, so it's comma separated, similar to how the other one was set up.
Exactly. So now when this message goes out, it's actually going to go out on two different channels. And so I might have one UX that's listening for my mapping channel and another one that needs to record that data for logging purposes or something else. So it really opens up a lot of capabilities. And remember, I'm doing this all client side. So there is nothing happening, but I could do it XBasic where I send it back to alpha and then the alpha server sends the message out. You may want to do that to say, go look up some data and then include it in the message going out. But once that message goes out, then you can do everything client side. So really, the cool thing about map pushers, it's fun, it's simple to put together, but for certain things, you can actually reduce the demands on your service or your server enormously and make alpha server be able to serve more customers, et cetera, get more value for your bucks. I mean, you already get an enormous amount of value with alpha application server, but this, it might be a trick for you to do more because you can push all this data out once. And if you have 50 people listening to it, you know, all those 50 people get it from pusher. They don't have to go back to the server to get the data.
Very cool.
Cool.
One other map question. I don't know how far down you want to get into it, but can you change like, well, I believe you can because you showed it, the messages that appear next to the markers, and can you even change the markers themselves?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me go into, well, when you're using, oops, so when you're here, you have what are called marker settings. So that marker name is what the unique marker was. But in here, you can actually pick the icon you want. So you can either use a built-in one, you could use SVG, the sky's the limit. And so you can pick that, the title. You can also do some really cool things like overlay circle. So like that, you can say, okay, make a circle about 1 mile. So if you can actually even have that dynamic. So you can say like, it's like, think of the COVID app. You could say, here is where we're getting our data, like Austin. And by the way, the bigger the circle is, the more patients that have, or something like that. So you can do that. You can also animate it. But most importantly, and this is really fun, you can include on-click events. So when someone clicks on that marker, you can either show some details or literally you could go to another panel card and show it. So it's really well thought out. You can actually go in here and put in a piece of action JavaScript to run when they do it and pass in maybe the Latin law and information. So it's very flexible. So I would use this, and then once you've generated this, then you can pick out the JavaScript from there to say, okay, I'm going to dynamically change the marker icon. So instead of this image, let's say it's a URL of an image, I'm going to give it this one. So on the map, it would show it. And there's a lot of like off the shelf marker icons that are available for Google that you can go out and find.
Let's say you wanted to dynamically change the marker icon. Let's just make it even more complicated. I suspect you could choose the icon here, then see what the JavaScript is underneath, and then
exactly.
have your
So
code.
let's go ahead and look at that. Let me just grab, let's say I wanted that marker for all the smart people that we use here. Okay, Baba. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and go into text mode, and you'll see here's the marker. So what I would do is in my script, I would just have a var and change that based on the message that's coming in. Maybe you want a red marker or this there. So I would have up here in my script, I'd say, okay, so I have to, you know, the tricky part with Pusher is that it's sending just one set of text. So you got to, I would probably send it as JSON in the future because then JSON, I could extract pieces of it very easily. But I could say, okay, var marker icon is equal to blah. And then down here, I just have to go, okay, marker icon. And so then I could dynamically set it here. And then when this script runs, it's just going to use that particular marker icon to show on the screen. Good question. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic.
Fun.
Dion, you've done it again.
Oh, that's great. By the way, everybody, okay, I'm going to get my location, but next week I will not be here.
That's right.
I'm gonna actually be around there. So I'm not talking to anybody next week. No, so just to let you know, I won't be attending next week, but
You
but
told
we
me you were going
have,
to the coast, and I completely forgot that Texas has one. So, you know,
yeah, we have a big one. Probably the
I,
best coast ever.
it's I
No,
know,
actually we don't. It is not the best coast ever. I can tell you that.
but
Oh,
that's
come on,
okay.
where,
Nice to
okay,
get
so I'm gonna
away.
drive here,
So
gonna drive
Dion won't
along
be
here.
here. So I guess it's time to
Oh,
wrap
where'd
it
my
up.
marker go? I have to go over to Houston, then I drive south, then I'll be down here. But I'm not gonna actually tell you where it is there. We'll have to guess.
Exactly.
We'll run the demo next week and then you can see.
Dion, thank you so much for presenting
Thank
today.
you.
Thanks for everyone who showed up and asked questions, especially Sarah there in the
I
background,
know, saved our
answering the
tail.
questions, saving us.
Sarah's
And in
gonna be
fact,
taking care next week.
exactly, Sarah will be taking over next week for just for one episode. Then we'll bring you back, Dion. Don't get nervous. So we hope to see you all then. Until then, if you have questions, send them to guides, GUIDES, @alphasoftware.com. Hope to see you next week. Take care. Stay well.